Do you agree that most of the funny scenes in Elemental involve Wade and his authentically tearful and frightened expressions? If you're in doubt, watch this scene where his bag accidentally catches fire because of Ember, and look at the terrified expression he makes. Besides the legitimate fear we see on his face with that simply enormous mouth, his hand is completely stretched out, making the pause scene even funnier. Wade is truly one of the most sensitive characters in this movie, and one of the funniest too. This is just the first scene you shouldn't pause in Elemental unless you want a good laugh. Want to see the others? Just stay here with us. Bulging Cloud. When Bernie and Cinder arrive in Element City, they are dazzled by everything they see and get distracted to the point where Bernie collides with an air person. As you know, they are basically clouds that are either flying or walking on the sidewalks. And if you pause exactly at the moment when Bernie literally passes through the Cloud Man, you'll notice how bizarre and hilarious this scene is at the same time. The air guy's eyes bulge out completely, and we can see Bernie entering his belly at the same time. Honestly, I don't know what air people eat, but by the look on his face, it seems that whatever it is, almost everything came out in that encounter they had.
Hey, Chris, guys.
Hey, watch it, Sparky.
Stretched Bernie. If there's one expression that's funny, it's when people make that surprised or scared face. And when Bernie and Cinder find the place for sale that would later become their convenience store, he explores the place that's clearly been abandoned for a while. At the moment he runs through the area, the floor gives way, and he ends up falling into a hole. And it's the look of shock that Bernie makes that is really hilarious. We can see his features stretch, and his eyes are really wide open. And he must have thought something like, "I'm in trouble." Fortunately, nothing serious happened to the patriarch of the Lumen family.
I'm okay.
Scary Wade. This is definitely one of my favorites. There are two things that Wade knows how to do very well. One is making Ember feel good, and the other is crying and screaming. And when he ends up entering the basement of Ember's family store, the expression he makes is very, very funny. In true Wade style, he has a look of fear and terror because he realizes he's entering a place he had no idea about. Honestly, I think I would make the same face in his place, and maybe even worse. But this frightened look of his while screaming in terror is so typical of Wade. Crazy Ember. One of Ember's trademarks is her quest for self-control, as she easily gets irritated, which is not good for anyone and is a lesson for each of us. But that doesn't mean we can't laugh at the real moments of her outbursts in the movie, especially because of the faces she makes during these moments. One of the funniest moments happens when she goes down to the store's basement to vent her anger, and the face she makes is really strange. I definitely wouldn't want to be around when she has to release her anger. Strangely Bernie. Certainly, good old Bernie is one of the most expressive characters in the Elemental movie, as we can tell exactly what he's feeling just by looking at his face. But there was a scene that we paused where we were actually unsure of what he was thinking or feeling at that moment. When he's with little Ember talking to her about the blue flame, we see that he starts showing off for his daughter, as any good father should. However, if you do what we did and pause at that exact moment, it looks more like he's feeling relief than anything else. Maybe he had gas and it finally escaped? Man, I think my imagination went too far this time. Sorry guys, but he definitely has that look. Let's have a quick game with you. We're going to show you several images in sequence, and you'll have a few seconds to see them all. If you don't laugh at all, you win. But if you laugh, you lose. Deal? So, here we go. 3, 2, 1. If you managed to do it, comment #yes below. And if you couldn't help but laugh, put #no in the comments so we can find out if you laugh easily or not. Caught in the act. Have you ever imagined what your face would be like when someone caught you doing something you shouldn't be doing, or where you shouldn't be doing it? Well, that's exactly the face this Earthman makes when Wade and Ember pass by his window while he and his wife are doing some pruning. Whatever that means, it certainly shouldn't have been done in the window, judging by the shocked expression on his face. It may not be wrong what they were doing, but it certainly wasn't in the right place. That much is clear from the startled look he gave. Naughty.
Nothing weird going on here.
Just a little pruning.
Sudden death. One of the funniest scenes in Elemental should also have been one of the sad moments in the movie. but I have to confess that I laughed when I saw it. When the Lumen family is waiting for the final moments of the fire lady who asks Ember to marry a fire person, she simply disappears in less than a second. I know, someone's death is not a reason to laugh, but the way Pixar did it was definitely meant to make us laugh because it was both scary and sudden. And if you pause at the moment when the fire lady speaks her last words while Ember holds her hand, forgive me, but the expression she makes is downright funny. At that moment, I even got mad at Pixar for making me laugh at a scene like that. Smushed face. There are typically two ways to have a smushed face. One is when you wake up after a heavy night's sleep. The other is when you hit your face on a wall or the ground and it literally gets flattened. And that's exactly what happens to Ember when she falls in the middle of Element City with her face on the ground while chasing Wade through the city streets. When she raises her head, you can see how painful it must have been just by the pained expression on her face. Poor Ember, but if you think about it, this is the face that Wade will see every morning when he wakes up next to Ember as they are married, and he'll see her squashed face every morning when he wakes up. That's one of the good parts of marriage. Trust me. Not really. Scared little Wade. It really seems that Wade has been practicing his scared and terrified facial expressions since he was little, because the first demonstration we see of him doing this is in that hilarious scene when he's still very young and gets sucked into a sponge accidentally due to his curiosity. We can't really blame him, as being suddenly sucked into somewhere is definitely something that must be truly frightening. But the face he makes when it happens is still funny. We see the typical wide open eyes and the mouth as wide as it can be, just like he does several times throughout the movie. This shows that Wade has always been the same way. Seriously, this guy is hilarious. Like mother, like daughter. If there's one thing that stands out in the movie, it's the fact that Ember is taller than her father and mother. But if you think they're not similar because of that, you're terribly mistaken. In a pause scene inside Fern's office, when Wade and Ember go there to try to stop the shipment of the report that Wade himself had made about the plumbing in the Lumen family's market, both of them speak at the same time, telling him to wait. And if you pause at the right moment, you'll be in doubt whether it's really Ember who's there at that moment or if it's her mother Cinder, because look how she looked at that moment. Seriously, Ember looks so much like her mother, at least we know what she'll look like in a few years when she's the same age as Cinder is now. Like mother and daughter, again. What we just mentioned isn't the only time we see that they look alike, as when Cinder tries to enter the building where Wade's family apartment is located and is stopped by the doorman, we see that Cinder, who is small, becomes much larger and scarier. Look at her face, which becomes genuinely terrifying in true fire person style. If we compare it to another scene in the movie, we see that Ember does almost the same thing to try to stop Wade from entering the town hall. So we can see that they are really similar, and the two pause scenes show that exactly. Something strange. Fire people have the gift of being able to smell passion, so to speak. But Ember's mother has an even stronger gift and can smell it from miles away. And when she is literally sniffing her own daughter, she passes by two air people, a mother and a son, who find that situation very strange. And many people didn't even notice, but if you pause the scene at that exact moment, you'll see the look on one of their faces for that unusual act of the best matchmaker in the fire neighborhood is someone who is thinking, "What the heck is this woman doing?" I think I would have had the same reaction in her place. So folks, these are the scenes you shouldn't pause in Elemental unless you want to have fun with these expressions, some sinister and others hilarious. But even though this video is ending, it doesn't mean your journey is over, so we've picked out these two videos for you to continue enjoying some great content. You can choose either of the two, and you'll have a lot of fun.